Today, we are diving deep into a real mind-bender from Eastern philosophy, the Avatamsaka Sutra. This text paints a picture of reality that isn't just huge and interconnected, it's also deeply paradoxical. So, let's see if we can decode it together. So, right at the start, the sutra throws this incredible puzzle at us. It tells us that the Buddha is sitting right there, under the Bodhi tree, in one single spot. But then, in the very same breath, it says he's also in a celestial palace. And not just there, but in every single world, in every corner of the cosmos, all at the exact same time. And that brings us to the big question, right? I mean, how is that even possible? It seems to completely defy logic. Is this just some kind of flowery metaphor? Or is the sutra trying to tell us about a much deeper structure of reality that we just don't normally see? Well, that is the exact mystery we are going to solve today. Okay, so the key to unlocking this whole thing is a concept called the Dharmakaya, or the body of truth. Now, this isn't a physical body we're talking about. It's the idea that an awakened being is no longer some separate person, but is completely one and the same with the fabric of reality itself. You know the modern idea of a holographic universe, where if you take any tiny piece of the hologram, the entire image is still contained within it? The Dharmakaya is kind of like that. The totality of everything is present at every single point. So, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around something that massive? Well, the sutra doesn't just leave us hanging. It introduces 10 great bodhisattvas, these masters of wisdom, who are basically going to be our guides through this cosmic logic. And you know, there's this really beautiful piece of symbolism baked right in. Every single one of these 10 masters has a name that ends with Lin, which is the character for forest. And that is no accident. It's meant to give you this image of a vast, living, interconnected ecosystem of wisdom, where every single insight is connected to the whole. And here it is. This is our roadmap. This table shows the entire system of wisdom from these 10 bodhisattvas. Each one contributes one core principle, and together they build this incredible logical chain that takes us from that initial paradox all the way to the fundamental nature of reality itself. We're going to follow this step by step. All right, let's start piecing this cosmic puzzle together. We're just going to follow the logic of these masters and see how they build an argument for a reality that is, well, radically different from what we experience every day. The first major shift in our thinking comes from the bodhisattva Shanglin. He says, look, if you want to see reality as it truly is, if you want to see the Buddha, you have to first understand that things aren't really born and they don't really die. So what does that actually mean? The crucial point is this. We have to stop seeing the world as a bunch of static, separate things. Instead, Shanglin is asking us to see it as one continuous, flowing process. Things appear and disappear, sure, but there's no fixed, independent thing there to begin with that's being born or dying. Now, building on that idea, the next master, Jingjin Lin, comes in and adds another critical layer. He says, okay, if reality is just this fluid process, then where do all our categories come from? You know, good versus bad, beautiful versus ugly, even something as basic as numbers. He argues these aren't features of the world out there. They're labels, they're divisions that are created entirely by our own minds. And this leads us straight to the climax of the entire argument. If reality is a fluid process and all the distinctions we see are just created by us, then the next logical question is, what is the source of it all? What's the fundamental source code that's generating our entire experience? This is where two masters step forward to give us the final piece of the puzzle, Li Lin and Zhu Lin. And they don't just give us a vague concept, they lay out the step-by-step formula, the actual causal chain that shows precisely how the world we experience comes into being. This is that deductive process from mind to world. And here's how that process unfolds. It all starts with mind, the absolute root of all experience. From the mind, our intentions and actions, what we call karma, arise. This karma then gives rise to the 5 skandhas. You can think of these as the building blocks that create our sense of being a separate self. And then, from that constructed self, the entire world as we know it appears. Zhu Lin Bodhisattva then delivers one of the most famous lines in all of Buddhist literature, a metaphor that just perfectly captures this entire philosophy. He says, the mind, like a master painter, can paint all the worlds. The world isn't something out there that we just passively watch. It is a canvas that we are actively, constantly painting with our awareness. Which brings us to the definitive conclusion, the core insight of this whole text, summed up in 4 powerful characters. 一切为心造. all is fabricated from mind alone. And this solves our paradox from the very beginning. The Buddha isn't in one place or many places because the very concept of place is a fabrication of the mind. The true Buddha, the Dharmakaya, is the mind itself. It's the painter, not the painting. So there you have it, the intricate logic of the Avatamsaka Sutra. It's an absolutely incredible philosophical system. But let's bring this home. What does all this ancient code mean for us right here, right now? Well, we can really boil this down to 3 powerful takeaways for our modern lives. First, we are not just living in the universe, we are the universe experiencing itself. Everything is deeply interconnected. Second, the world isn't just out there. We are actively creating it with our minds, moment by moment. And third, awakening isn't some far-off mystical goal. It's simply about learning to see reality as it truly is, without the filters and fabrications of our own minds. So the entire complex logic of this sutra can be summed up in one final, elegant formula. The path isn't to look outward for answers, but inward. To understand your mind is to understand how your world is created. And to understand how your world is created is to understand the very nature of reality itself. Ultimately, this ancient text doesn't leave us with a dogma or a set of rules. It leaves us with a profound and deeply personal question. If it's true that your mind is the artist creating your world moment by moment, what kind of world are you going to choose to paint?